So, welcome to everyone that's just arrived, and welcome to those watching the recording. Thanks for joining us. For those that don't know me, I'm Jo Symes. I'm the founder of Progressive Education, which raises awareness of alternatives to conventional schooling and campaigns for change. This event has been organised to celebrate the launch of a new course on alternatives to conventional schooling, and I'll be sharing a bit more information about that at the end. But first of all, I'm delighted to welcome Sophie, Esme, Rue, Niskika, and Leonato. So, Sophie is the co-founder of the consent-based self-directed learning communities, The Cabin and The Lodge, and she's kindly offered to host our second panel discussion on the future of education. So, over to you guys. We're really excited to hear your thoughts.
Thank you, Jo, and hi to everyone that's on the call. Very special welcome to the brilliant panelists that I'm working with today. And yeah, we're going to spend the next hour going through a set of questions that are going to bring out some interesting thoughts, reflections, and insights from the panel. When we met to plan actually on Monday, and I was saying to the panelists, like, this event is about thinking about the future of education, but what is quite remarkable about you is that you are already implementing quite a lot of the ideas that people think the future of education should be like. So, you know, at any given time in history, there are always people who are pushing at the edge and are actually ahead of their time. And so, yeah, what is great about this panel is that we can actually talk about some of these future ideas as they are being experienced in the here and now. So the concept of the future, right? Like, what is it when some people are already living out a type of education that is dreamt about by other folk who are, you know, still in a different place with what they're doing. So yeah, we're really lucky to get to work together today. So thank you so much to the panelists and for everyone that's come to the event. We are going to start with our first question. And yeah, so one of the things that came up during our planning was actually about AI and about how AI impacts education and different people's experience of that in the here and now, and potentially looking forward as well. So the first question I wanted to ask the panelists is, what do you think about the rise of AI and its impact on education? So, Esme.
So for AI, it's very fast developing, and at this point, there's probably no stopping it. So instead of AI going away or AI adapting to us, education needs to be more forward and adapt to AI. So that's why home ed can be, or like different education styles, can be very progressive and can actually be very helpful in the futuristic world where AI is a big component because we know it already is a massive part of everyday life for a lot of young people and everyone really. So what we really like like different learning styles help to like make a child's mind a bit different and make it really embrace like the human brain, almost like let a brain do something that only brains can do instead of like AI, which is really good, and that means that like it can help people who have different types of education to be more successful in the future.
Thank you, Esme. Rue, your hand's up. Would you like to say something? Yeah?
Uh, I used it for the on my camera to change into look like a superhero. By the way, this is Tiny the pterodactyl here.
Thanks, Rue. So you use AI already to like create things, is what I heard you just saying now with pictures and things. Thank you. Niskika?
So I think for education, AI is really exciting because it makes learning even more widely accessible with the rise of, AI developing and the internet. Already you can use Google to look up pretty much anything. But now with AI, you can essentially go to AI and, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, and
Hello.
ask it, can you be my math teacher? Outline some things that you'd like it to help you with. Doesn't have to be maths, of course, but that's an example. And if if you're clear with your prompts and you know what you want it to do, it can be actually a really good maths teacher. And that's just in your own house. You don't have to go to a classroom anywhere. You don't have to speak to an actual teacher. That's just in your own house using, any AI tool. And that's and that's only like a small amount of what it can do. I'm a writer, so I love to write stories. I've written one full novel and I'm writing another one at the moment. And AI can do so many interesting things in creative fields as well, which I know a lot of people are worried about. But I find that also really exciting and educational as well, seeing how AI can create images, often not very well, but sometimes, and how it can write in prose. I haven't gotten it to write poetry yet, but that's another thing I'd like to experiment with. So I think it just makes education even more fun to experiment with and even more accessible than it was before.
Thank you, Niskika. Leo, your hand's up too. Would you like to say something about this question?
I think AI is a tool of the world because everybody uses it, but I don't want people to use it in a non-positive way. I don't want scamming. I would just want stuff that's nice, like pictures, videos. Like AI can help you with anything. So you can search up Google, certainly, yes, like Nisha said, but on Gemini, you can ask it to be a person, not on Google. That's why AI is so important to us. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. And Esme, what would you like to add? And we've got another question to follow up actually that came from you in the planning. So I don't know whether you want to segue us into that a bit more, Esme, or yeah, let us know what you've got to say.
So, adding on to everyone has given really great examples of how you can use AI. But you need to use it as a tool. You can't use it as your own brain. That's not good. And also, it has a very large and negative environmental impact. It uses up natural resources. So I think in the future, we all need to be very careful with using AI. And obviously, AI is programmed by a human. It makes human mistakes. So not everything it's going to tell you is going to be true or like factually correct or like good for you. So you need to make sure you use it as a tool and that you use it safely. And I think that is a really good thing to learn. And also not to overuse it, because if you overuse it for silly things, then you're using up natural resources and you're just kind of wasting it. And that you want to be careful using it and use it sparingly when you need it and not instead of your own brain.
Thank you so much. I'd really like to move the conversation on to something that, again, we touched a bit on Monday about, which was about
Sophie, sorry,
yeah?
just to interrupt, sorry. Derry's saying you're a bit quiet. I wonder, can you move a little bit closer to your phone, maybe?
Ooh, how's that?
Sorry.
Derry, is that better?
Sorry, everyone. We had a few tech difficulties this morning. We're improvising with a phone.
Let me see if I can get, hang on, I have like, oh gosh, equipment for this kind of thing. Let me see if I can use it to see if it makes any difference. Oh,
We can hear you. It's just a little bit quiet, that's all.
okay. I don't know whether this is going to help, but I'm trying to put
Yeah,
it on.
that's already much better, Sophie.
It's better?
Yes.
Ooh. Now
Cool,
it's on
thank
like
you.
a weird robot arm.
And the young people are coming through beautifully.
Brilliant. That's amazing. Is that all right? Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Thank
Okay, cool. So the next question I wanted to ask everyone is, in your experience of education, and I realise that I haven't actually asked you to introduce yourselves and what you do, and I'm going to hold off on that actually because I think it would be cool to like have people hear you without necessarily knowing that for a little bit. But in your experience of education, could you tell me a little bit about your experience of like coming to a problem, like hitting a problem in your journey, whether that's your personal life, your travel life, your learning life, like whatever it is, and ways in which you have kind of overcome that, like the tools you've used, or what you've done when you've come to a problem. If anyone has anything they want to say about that. Esme. Oh, you're muted.
I'm here. I'm back. When I reach a problem, there are different things you can do. Like, I think with certain types of education, it can make your brain a bit more creative and make your brain think outside the box. Think of different ideas. So if you run personally, from personal experience, if I were to run into a problem, instead of leaving it or just asking, as I said, AI, Google, whatever, I think of like solutions that aren't going to impact others in a negative way, and make sure that it's like good in all senses to make like good for everyone, not negative at all. And it's very like it as a person, I find it's quite fun to problem solve.
Thank you. Rue, your hand's up. I'll go Rue and then Niskika, and then Leah, I'll come to you in case you have anything.
No. I did Funkful, and it took a long time to practice. So I had to do rainbow arms, and now I'm very good at it. The key to swimming is strong and slow.
Thank you so much. Niskika, your hand went up, I think.
So I wouldn't say I have a very specific problem to touch on, but in general, I think when it comes to approaching problems, like Esme put, being in home ed kind of gives me a wider perspective. So even when I look at issues like, AI and how it's impacting the environment, how people are using it, that's a problem that as a young person now, it's a problem I will have to grow up to help solve. And I think that does not daunt me at all. I'm very excited to experiment with the problems that the adults are going to leave for us in the new generation. And I think part of that is definitely because I've been raised in this, very curiosity-led, freedom-led environment where I'm allowed to, pursue anything that I find really interesting. And I'm not forced to, oh, you have to look at this because the curriculum says you do. And instead, I'm able to, if I feel like I'm interested in writing a short story, I can go ahead and write that short story instead of thinking, but no, you have this biology exam you need to study for. Because you learn from everything. Like kids learn from everything. So problem solving comes naturally to us, and it kind of gets beaten out of you when you're in school because you're forced to only look at the problems that the adults want you to look at. And that kind of narrows your perspective because now you're not being led by your own curiosity and what you want to look at, but instead led by the adults when you're supposed to be coming in with a fresh perspective to take over from them.
Great, thank you so much. Leo, did you want to add what
Yes.
your thoughts
are? So, we had this airport problem getting to South Africa. Obviously, we are in South Africa now, so we're schooling for. I was schooling for a few years, so we had an airport problem that we had to get this yellow fever vaccine that stopped us for 10 days, but we survived it without any cash, and AI helped us stay positive and figure out it. So, yay for AI. Everybody give a cheer for AI.
Thanks, Leo. Awesome. Okay, great. I wanted to now ask you something, which is also a question I'd like us to share with everyone that is listening right now and watching this panel, which is, what does an ideal of education/learning look like to you? Like one day, if you were going to describe like a really awesome day for yourself, what would that look like? So, Rue, is your hand up straight away? Would you like to tell us what your kind of ideal day would look like?
You are muted.
exploring places, looking
Good
closer,
voice.
exploring places, looking closer with my microscope, playing in the garden, playing with friends, cooking, and yo-yoing, and reading.
Thank you. Niskika, what would yours look like?
So I think I would say that I probably live my ideal day of education most days, but I think because I'm, in home ed and I'm not led by a curriculum, so there's no preset thing telling me that this is what you're going to do tomorrow, this is what you're going to do today, this is what you're going to do 2 hours from now. I am able to kind of look at pretty much anything I want to do, and no 2 days have to look the same. So because I'm in, at home, I do online classes on a site called OutSchool, which is fantastic for all kinds of different online classes. And I've done a few classes for writing there, one or two on law, and that's been really interesting. And then I might do that one day, and the next day I might decide, oh, I want to go to the Natural History Museum, because here in London there's a bunch of, free museums that are just amazing to go and see. And so I might do that the next day. And then after that, I might decide I don't really want to go to a museum today. I want to read a book. And I might want to read Harry Potter. So I think that's the lovely, like, freedom-led part of being in home ed, is that I can be at the museum one day, my nose in a book the next day, and writing a short story the day after that. And it's all just depends on what I feel like doing. And I think you definitely learn better when you're able to pursue what your brain wants to do versus what a curriculum thinks you should be doing.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna take Leo's hand and then Esme after Leo. So Leo, do you want to tell us about your ideal day?
My ideal day would be snorkeling, and finding a shipwreck and maybe a megalodon down at the bottom of the ocean. And it's because I love everything like nautical, and I'm a marine expert.
Amazing.
And
Thank you, Leo.
here's my drawing of a shipwreck. Doing.
Wow, cool. Thank you. That sounds
I
great.
tried my best.
You did great. Thanks, Leo. And Esme, what about you? What would your ideal day look like?
My ideal day would probably, you'd wake up quite early because I like early, and I'd make lots of food because I love baking. And then I'd make a list of the things that I wanted to achieve that day or what I wanted to do. So say I wanted to go for a run or go on the trampoline. I wanted to read 50 pages of my book and I wanted to do this, this, and that. I'd make the list, and then as and when I wanted, or when my brain like kind of felt fit to do it, I'd do the things. Like my brain works quite good early in the morning and quite late at night. And the thing with mainstream education is you can't do it after 3:15 when you've left school, and you can't do your lessons or do your work at 5 a.m. when you wake up because there's no there's no adjustability of that. It's this is going to happen then. That's very preset. But the thing is, what if you get overwhelmed by doing the maths and it's really hard? So then what? Then you just have to go into the next thing and pile onto that. Instead, I would do things as and when it felt right for my brain, and I'd do it when it like feels good and when I feel like I could do it best.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. So this kind of nicely takes us into another question that we came up with about relationships and collaborating with others. And I would love to know what your experience is through the way that you learn and live your lives. Yeah, what's your experience of relationship with other people and also like collaborating with people on your journey in life? So Esme, go for it.
As a home eder, people will often make assumptions about you that, oh no, they don't like socializing, they're very antisocial, they don't leave the house enough, all of that. I leave the house at least once a day and go and speak to someone. Also, I collaborate with other kids. I go to the lodge, I do things like that, and I enjoy it every time. Firstly, it's not a forced collaboration, and you don't feel like you have to be there. And even if you did, it's more like, it's more flexible. And also, I'm at home with an adult every day. I go and see other adults. And I've learned how to collaborate with adults. And of course, school is important and education. But collaborating with someone on an art project may not impact your life as much as collaborating with someone at work when you're an adult, and it really, really takes a massive impact on your life and you have to do this big project. So learning how to collaborate with adults as a child is very important, because you can then feel very comfortable doing it. If you've grown up collaborating with adults, by the time you get to a workplace, you're going to be like, right, yeah, I know how to talk to people, I know how to deal with this, I know how to make everyone feel like they've been heard. So I think collaboration as a home eder is still like, it still happens, it's still great, it's still very important and very effective.
Thank you so much. Leo? Leo, then Esme, then Rue, just so you know. So Leo first.
Um,
Oh, sorry, Leo, Niskika, and then Rue. We already heard Esme, sorry, Niskika.
the IKC, the International Kids Council is like a group of kids from all over the world to come together to share ideas, solve real problems, and like bring their ideas together. So I'm part of it. And also, I am a member in the STEAM club, which uses Lego. So, really happy about that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Niskika?
So my experience in collaborating while in home ed has been really good. I moved to London about 2.5 years ago with my family, and after coming here, my mum got me in a few home ed groups where they organize projects. Like I've done some biology projects at Kew Gardens, a psychology workshop at the Freud Museum, and yeah, like things like that. And while there, I've been able to meet kids my own age and kind of work with them on those projects. But the difference between that and kind of being working with someone on a school project, I would say, is that I wanted to be there and I wanted to do this, and I was very happy to work with other kids. Whereas in school, it's kind of like you're just lumped in with whoever happens to be in your class and in your age group. And like Esme said, because I'm in home ed, it gives me more opportunity to interact with adults as well. So I'm not just constrained to my age group, which would probably be year 10s. And instead, I can, interact with adults and speak to them as well. And my relationships outside of external ones, in my own family, I have two younger brothers. One is 4 and the other is 11. And when you're in school, your relationship with your siblings, I feel you don't get as deep a connection with them, because if you've got a large age gap like I do with my youngest brother, who's only 4, you'd be in completely different grades. Like he'd be in preschool and I would be in high school. And so you'd barely get to see each other. And you'd kind of be strangers living in the same house because you're out almost all day, and then you only come home on the holidays and at the end of the day when you're grumpy and tired. So you don't really get that connection. And I feel like because I'm in home ed, I'm able to, I play with my brothers, we fight together, both the good and the bad, but we love each other. And I don't think you get as much of that when you're in school and you've got a dozen other things, clamping down on you. And you can hardly think about your siblings because you've got exams, your old friends, all of that. So yeah, I think definitely home ed has positively impacted my relationships.
Thank you so much. Rue, you had your hand up too, right? Do you want to say something about relationships and collaborating?
Together with him. I helped my granddad on the farm and worked together with him.
Do you want to say anything else?
Thank you, Rue. Great. That was really nice to hear from everyone about that. Yeah, to really illuminate all the different possibilities and the different types and quality of relationship that you experienced. Really interesting. Thank you. I'd like to ask you now if you could tell a little bit more about your experience of learning things through actually doing them, going to the place, having the first-hand experience, as opposed to what it might be like in a classroom environment. So yeah, would you be able to share a little bit about how you found that, and maybe share stories about times when, times in your life when you've had a really amazing experience of that kind, or yeah, anything you want to say on that? Esme.
I really like this question because I've been in mainstream education and different types of education. That's probably not a word. Anyway, and from experience, I did a project with bees, with one of my other home ed friends. Anyway, in school, we did a project on bees, we'd sit down, we'd look at a diagram of a bee, and we'd learn the different types of bee. You'd learn, but not really. And when you came across a bee, you'd be like, wow, that's a bee. Great, I learnt a bit about them in class. You would know nothing about behavior or just what they really are in real life. Then I did a project on bees, and we went on a nice walk, and we saw all the different types of bee, looked them up, identified them, and then we went to a bee museum and looked at how the colonies work and saw how they worked, and really looked at bees, looked at their behavior, look how they work. And you would get more out of when you went to go see a bee and how you learnt about them versus sitting down, looking at a slideshow, learning a bit about bees, and not being very interested. Sorry, there's a cat in my screen.
Thank you. Cat's welcome on the panel. Okay, Leo.
So the world really is your classroom. And as I said earlier, that I am in Africa, I saw penguins. Penguiny. So I also love aquariums, and I found this sea urchin yesterday at the rocks. So very cool. So if you can't travel, you can still go to your free museum really, can't you? So you can just think that you are. You can go outside. You can go in your garden. You can still learn about the world even though you're not traveling.
Thank you so much, Leo. Thank you for showing us the urchin. That was so cool. Okay, so I'm going to go Rue and then Niskika. Rue, would you like to tell us about your experiences? And then I'll come back to you, Esme.
I've got some facts about Edinburgh Castle. I went there on the weekend. The prisoners slept in hammocks. They got 2 pints of beer a day, and they got 6 pence a day.
Wow, that was cool. What did you like about the castle, Rue, when you went there? Was there anything that surprised you?
The crown jewels. We saw them.
You can speak.
Saw them.
Thank you so much, Rue. Okay, Niskika and then Esme. Niskika.
So my experience with kind of going around and seeing things hands-on has been really interesting because I live in London and there's a number of free museums here. Like just about half an hour away from me, there's the Natural History Museum and the Science Museum, which are both really fun, very interactive, and this they're huge museums. There's so much to see. And I think, like Leo, I've traveled around a bit. Before moving to London, I was in Australia, and I've also lived in the US for a couple of years before. So being able to like travel around and get and see new places hands on instead of just seeing them on a map on a chalkboard is really interesting and really fun, because and when you're in school, you don't have as much freedom with being able to travel around whenever you want because the school wants to keep you there. They don't want their students running off and going to the US for 3 months and then coming back to Australia and then deciding they're going to move to London. So that freedom, I think you only get with home ed, and being able to, go to a museum one day and go to another museum the next day, go to the zoo if you feel like, and being able to kind of get those experiences hands-on is really fun. And as a writer, there's also loads of online resources as well. I have a mentor from a website called Write Girl, which is great for aspiring young girls who want to be, writers. And we meet up every Thursday, and she helps me, gives me writing advice and gives me writing exercises to do and all of that. And that's another great resource that I can use for doing my writing that would be harder to manage if I was also doing school on top of that. And it's perfectly tailored to my interests because I love to write and I'm not as interested in the kinds of things that mainstream school offers. So I think learning things hands-on and even online in home ed is fantastic.
Thank you so much. Esme, do you want to say something, and then we'll have the next question?
With Leo, I just love that idea that the world is your museum. The world is your free museum, even though the world isn't exactly free, but it is your museum. Like with mainstream education, you're just going to sit in the classroom and you're going to learn about stuff. Great, you've got some information in your head. Now what? But with home ed or just flexible education, you can go outside. Say I wanted to learn about butterflies. Instead of looking at a photo of a butterfly, I could stand up, walk right outside, go find a butterfly, take a photo, or just have a little look and identify the parts of a butterfly. You're going to learn more. And I love that idea that the world is your museum when you're home ed. You can do whatever you like. You can like go places and learn about places where they were instead of in a classroom on a screen.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we've got a few questions left. I would like to let me think which one. I would like to ask you, kind of cycle back to the beginning again about where we were talking about AI, because something that came up on Monday was this idea that learning outside of traditional school or the current, mainstream model can actually help humans become more resilient in the future around AI, or have skills that it's hard for AI to perform, basically. So I was wondering if anyone had anything they wanted to share about how they feel that their journey is actually kind of future-proofing them around that. Niskika.
So I love this question because I find AI absolutely fascinating. And I definitely do think that being in home ed gives me some skills that I would not have had otherwise. Like, I love to write, and I'm not at all concerned about AI taking my skill and my passion of writing away from me. I see AI as like this wonderful toy slash tool where it exists to enhance your existing ability, not to replace it. Of course, AI will automate some things, but I think for creative fields, especially, where you kind of need the human brain to be able to prosper in that area, I don't think AI is ever going to be able to replace what I enjoy doing or, what artists enjoy doing or anything creative in general. But if we use AI as a tool to enhance that ability, so, instead of being worried, oh, AI is going to write books for, no one's ever going to have to write books anymore because AI is going to write all the books for them. And where will our creativity when writing novels go? Instead, it's like, okay, I don't want AI to write the book for me, but what if I ask AI, how's this plot point looking? Is this character falling flat? How could I improve that? And then taking the information that it gives you and using that to turn your skills into something that AI definitively cannot replace. Because now you're working alongside AI instead of being worried that it's either AI or you.
Thank you so much. Esme, I'll go Esme, Leo, Ruth. So Esme, go for it.
I think The amazing Nishika, by the way, that was such a good point. Also, the home ed can be really helpful. Like I spend an hour a week learning about AI. I have an AI class that I do and I learn about it. It's great. I learn a lot. And I don't just learn about how we can like defeat AI or go against AI and like do stuff that it can't. I also learn about almost like collaborating with AI, learning how to use it to help you. And that is really important, I think, because we're not going to be able to beat AI. AI is here. AI is probably here to stay. Some people will love that, some people will hate that. That's fine. But it's not necessarily always about beating it. Although it is helpful to have creative skills that home ed do give you that AI can't touch. But like AI can't care for other people. Like, can you imagine how bad of a therapist AI would be? They can't care about you. AI doesn't care. You ask it something, it doesn't care whether you get the answer correct or not. But you can learn how to collaborate with it and learn how to just kind of be, it's almost about being more human. And I think home ed really helps you to be more human.
Thank you, Esme. Okay, so then we've got Leo and then Rue. Leo, what would you like to say?
I'd like to say AI can help us, but it can't replace us because we have hearts, we have souls, we have brains. AI doesn't. It doesn't, like, exactly what Esme said. It doesn't have feelings, can't be a therapist. Like, it's just so bad at having feelings of the brain. Like, yeah, being like a man. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. And Rue, what would you like to say on this?
It can't get out of a machine and have a running race with you.
Totally. It definitely cannot do that. Thank you, Rue. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Or is that everything from you?
It can't be your friend either.
Thank you, Rue. Okay, I'm going to take Nishika's hand, and then we've got one more question. Let me just double check to ask everyone before I then ask you all to introduce yourselves, and then we'll take some questions if we have time. So yeah, Nishika, go for it.
I just wanted to say, listening to everyone's perspective on this is absolutely wonderful because I definitely think that just being able to look beyond the scary parts of AI alone is a perspective that home ed has probably helped us all have. Because so many people are just blinded by, fear that AI is going to take their jobs, AI is going to take over the world, it's going to be the machine revolution, humans are going to all be destroyed, and all those terrifying thoughts. But then here we are discussing it, logically. We're like, no, AI cannot take over the world, but it can be our, like our companion in enhancing what we already do. And as long as we do it wisely, there's no reason why we shouldn't become even more efficient than we already are, creatively and in other fields as well. So yeah, it's wonderful.
Thank you so much. I agree. I'm so grateful for everything that has been shared so far on the panel. Thank you so much. Leo, did you want to say something about this question before I move on?
I'll let somebody else do it.
Okay, cool. So the last question, which I would love to ask all of you before I ask you to introduce yourselves, is also open to everyone that is listening. So if you're watching this panel right now, this is a question to you to think about too. And if you want to respond, go ahead and share it into the chat so that you can see each other's responses. We're not going to reply to your answers, but it would be cool to see what people want to put forward. So the question is, if you could change one aspect of the current education system, what would you change and why? And what would you replace it with? Nishika and then Leo.
So this is a tough question because there's lots of things that can be changed in mainstream education right now. And as, technology develops, I think we're seeing a lot of solutions to those changes that we want to make. But if I had to pick just one thing that I wanted to change, I would say something that particularly irks me is like exams and handwritten exams. I really don't love how we're still kind of writing exams longhand when computers are so widely available now and typing is just so much faster. For me, because I write, I never really write longhand unless I have to. I'm always typing away at my keyboard, and I'm so much faster at typing than I am at writing longhand. I'm abysmally slow at that. And I think I know it might be a slow change, but replacing handwritten exams, which is probably gonna start happening soon, replacing handwritten exams with exams done on computers, I think makes it more accessible as well. Because you shouldn't have to fail your exam just because you write a bit slower than everyone else. I don't think that's fair. You might be really intelligent, but if you're not very fast at handwriting, that shouldn't make or break your exam. And exams in general, I think, also need to be tweaked a bit. I wouldn't say get rid of them entirely because measuring a student's skill in a certain area is important, I would say, especially for their future. But there needs to be a better way of doing it than slamming all this pressure down on them and saying, you have this much time to complete it, you have to do this and this and this. I mean, no one thinks well under pressure. Adults never think well under pressure. And kids, even less so. And so when you're like, 15, 16, and then you're under all this pressure to like do the GCSEs, do all of these other exams, it's a lot of pressure for your developing teenage brain. Like your brain is years away from being fully developed. And you're being asked to do all of these things. It's no surprise that that kids end up developing anxiety and all of these stress related things. So I absolutely think that that's something that needs to change, especially as technology is giving us the ability to change it and make it better for everyone.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to go Rue and then Esme and then Leo. If you would like to say something, Leo, I wasn't sure if you put your hand up. So Rue first. Yeah, Rue, then Esme, then Leo.
Uh, I would change it for more playtime and for children to do what to do what they wanted and know what they wanted. I wanted you to know because I went to the Meadows Montessori school when and I did it.
Thank you, Rue. So Esme, you're next. Thank you, Rue.
Okay, thank you so much. I think one of the things I would change about education is make it more personalized, or instead of I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was in mainstream education because I was, and before then it was quite like, right, you sit down like everyone else. I don't mind. You're being stop fidgeting, stop being naughty, stop doing all that. Then as soon as you get diagnosed, as soon as there's that little bit of, oh, my cat, paperwork, it all changes. Everyone's just like, oh, it's okay if you need to fidget. But I think people don't, sorry, she's being very naughty. She's a new kitten. People don't need to have like this piece of paper and it's like, look, I'm different. Treat me how I need to be treated. I think people should be able to be treated and people should be able to be teachers and education should be able to adapt around people without just a piece of paper going, look, I'm different, treat me differently. I think maybe a bit more like acceptance before diagnosis.
Thank you so much, Esme. Okay, so it's right on. Leo, you and then Niskika. I'm aware of the time, so I think after Niskika, your next comment, then I'm going to ask you guys to intro and we'll see what questions want to come. So, okay, Leo.
I think what we could change is like same what Esme said, that Oh, Esme, you're muted if you were talking. So I think we should change worksheets and replace them with computers, because if you look at a worksheet, it's just a piece of paper, really, isn't it? It's just a piece of paper that doesn't feel anything to you. But computers, like, it's lighting up, you know that you're doing something. So yeah. And you can also play times table games. Like, there's so much more stuff on computers than a piece of paper, isn't it? Like, you can do drawing and writing, sure, but you can play games, TV, like everything on computers, because they're so advanced. They're so on it. They're so in it. So on and out it.
Thanks, yeah, that was cool. Thank you. So Niskika, what would you like to say?
So I totally agree with Esme and Leo. School is just not personalized enough at all. And I think that's what home ed offers that mainstream school cannot, because it's quite difficult to tailor to a group of kids, a full classroom of students who are all completely different, have all of these varying interests and, different ways of learning, when the curriculum says that everyone has to learn the same way. And that's just not no, that's just not how human brains work. No two people will learn in the exact same way, and unfortunately school tries to force everyone into learning the same way. And I don't think that's just not doable for learning with joy and enjoying yourself in the learning process. You can't do that if you're not able to learn the way you want to. And so in home ed, I think you can absolutely learn the way that suits your brain. And that's something that schools absolutely need to work towards making it better, because it's at this current point, it's just very one size fits all. And you can't do that. Every person is different. No two people are completely the same. And so you can't slap a one size fits all curriculum on them and expect everyone to excel at it. Some people will, but a lot of people also will not. And yeah, the GCSEs, the weird emphasis on the GCSEs, that needs to go. Definitely. The emphasis on, these intense exams and all of that. I mean, you're a kid. You shouldn't have to worry about all of this so early. You'll spend a lot of your adult life worrying about things. Let's not start earlier than we need to.
Thanks, Niskika. What I would love to do, Niskika, can you introduce yourself? And what we'll do now is we'll do a round. I'll go to each of you because I can see you still have something to say. And what I would love you to do is introduce yourself. So you might want to let everyone know, your name, where you are in the world. If you want to share your age, you can. And then just kind of like what your life looks like in terms of learning right now. And yeah, if you've got a final thought, give everyone your final thought. This is the chance. So yeah, Niskika, I feel like that might have been your final thought, which was amazing. Would you be able to introduce yourself now, and then I'll move on?
So, my name is Niskika. I'm 15 years old, and I currently live in the UK, in London. But before this, I lived in Australia until I was about 12, and I've lived in the US for a while over different periods as well. My current learning situation is, very relaxed, very free. I can look at whatever interests me, as you might have figured out throughout this panel. And currently, I've written one book. I love to write and read. It's my favorite thing to do. I've written one full-length novel, and I'm working on a second one, so that's very exciting. And I'm also very interested in psychology, because they kind of play hand in hand with creating characters for your book. Writing characters and understanding the human brain are not very far apart. So yeah, I'm looking into hopefully doing a psychology course sometime in the coming weeks. So that should be very exciting. And my final thought would probably be, if anyone here is, considering home ed for their kids, or, wants to learn more about home ed, I would say it's definitely not easy. It definitely won't work for everyone. Mainstream school, as much as it does not always work for the kids, is the easiest for families as a whole. Because, if you're working your 9 to 5 job and then your kids are at school, you can easily go and pick them up, and then everyone's at home at the same time and all of that. But I definitely think that home ed is worth trying if you can, because it's a wild ride, but it's absolutely wonderful, especially I think for the whole family. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Cheers, Niskika. Thanks for everything you brought to the panel. And okay, Leo, would you like to introduce yourself and give us your final thought?
My name is Leo. I am 7 years old, nearly to be 8. I love everything aquatic. I live in England. I am currently in South Africa. I have been in South America just a few weeks ago, and I think that you should live a life that you will remember.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Leo, thank you so much for being on this panel and for everything that you shared this morning. Thank you. Okay, Rue, would you like to introduce yourself and give us your final thought?
My name is Ruairi, but everyone calls me Rue. I am 5.5 with the way today. I've got hiccups. I'm in England at Swords End, and I like playing in the garden, and I kind of have 2 homes in the cabin up the garden and the house down here. And
Thank
I
you
like
so much, Rue.
books.
Did you want to give us a... Oh, sorry.
Like about 6 books.
Yeah. You're an author, aren't you, Rue? Thank you so much. Okay. And lastly, Rue, thank you for being on this panel. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. Rue, thank you for being on this panel, for everything that you've shared with us this morning. I'm really appreciative. It's been great to have you on this panel. Thank you. And Esme, would you like to introduce yourself and give us your final thought?
Hi, I'm Esme. I'm 12. I currently do a bit of learning online, some learning in person, and I go to the lodge. And my final thoughts are that mainstream school needs to adapt to the future, not stay behind. If everyone thinks the same, if everyone's taught the same things and has been from generation down to generation, the world won't change. And also, everyone has their own needs. Everyone has their own special needs. There are certain conditions such as ADHD, autism, dyspraxia, dyslexia, and many, many more. But everyone also has their own special needs. Like everyone's special, everyone's different, and we need to find a way to adapt to that. And I've really enjoyed being on the panel, so thank you.
Emily, thank you so much for your final thought and for your intro. And yeah, just again to say thank you to you for everything you've shared for everyone today and for being part of this wicked panel. Thank you. Okay, Joe, I know we've only got technically 4 minutes left. I don't know whether you want to do a Q, like take a question, or whether people that are on the panel have to rush off, or if you have time to hang about. But I could certainly stay for a little bit longer to take some questions if we want us to do that now. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, if you've got time, we've had one question that came in already, which was from Nichelle, and she said that she'd love to ask Niskika about her pathway. Like, is it going to be GCSEs or the IB? As you mentioned, that you don't adhere to a strict curriculum.
Okay, Niskika, are you comfortable to answer that question? It's totally up to you, kind of looking forward.
All right, so for me, at this current point, I'm not looking to do the GCSEs. We're looking at alternative pathways because most of the content in the GCSEs does not at this point currently interest me. And I hopefully in this year I plan to get published one of my books. So I think if I'm able to get published, that will open up an avenue where hopefully I can bypass doing the GCSEs, because there are other ways of getting past that final exam thing, but they're less mainstream than the GCSEs, of course. I just don't find them to be particularly interesting. My parents also agree they don't look very interesting. They make you pay for them. If you're in home ed, they make you pay like £100 to do the GCSEs, which is crazy to me. So yeah, I think I'd rather see if I can get past that by doing things that interest me rather than following more of the curriculum. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Joe, any other questions you want to have a
We haven't had any other questions, and
Okay.
it's up to you guys. Do you have time to stay on for a few more minutes?
Do you want to, can you
Okay.
wave if you want to stay for a little bit more? Yeah, Niskika can. Leo, do you want to stay for a little bit more? Ru can. Esme, how about you? Yeah, okay, we can hang about for a little bit more. So if anyone does want to put a question into the chat, then we can hear the question.
I've got a quick question. So I would love to ask, what, in your opinion, panel, is the purpose of education? What is education for?
Ooh, cool. Okay, Esme, what do you think?
Did you say me?
Yeah.
Great. I think the purpose of education is to inform people and really educate them, make their mind full of ideas and learning, and make sure they enjoy it. It like shapes the person. The way you're educated shapes you. So it's really important that you have a good education. Um, I think it's really, really important, and I think the purpose of education is to shape the young mind, and the anyone can learn, and to basically make a good person and someone who knows stuff, basically.
Thank you, Esme. Ru, what do you think? What do you think the purpose of education is? I mean, we might not even agree on the definition of education, right? So let's just hear whatever thoughts and whatever comes to you when you hear that question. What do you think the point of education is, Ru?
To learn stuff about the environment, general knowledge, and 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 other stuff you need to know.
Thank you so much. Niskika, did you want to add something? Go for it.
So I think the purpose of education is to prepare you kind of for what job you might want to look at, essentially to prepare you for the world. But what I also think is important to remember is that education does not end once you graduate from, university, college, wherever. Education, your whole life is an education. The world is your education, like Leo said earlier. So I think just because, you might have gone to school, you might have been home educated, your education, your learning does not end after you graduate. Your education continues for the rest of your life because you will never know everything. So it's always worthwhile learning as much as you can, especially about the things that interest you, but even about the things that don't. It's always worth knowing things, I think. And I think home ed has absolutely helped me with learning all about various different subjects, both things that I'm interested in and occasionally some things that I'm not as interested in. And keeping my mind, my worldview and my mind wide and broad for, as I grow up. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Niskika. Leo, did you have your hand up? Like, do you want to answer this one or no? No, pass. Okay, cool. Great. Niskika, is your hand again? Did you have something you wanted to add? I didn't mean to cut you off. No, you're cool. Okay, great. So, yeah, Joe, anything else?
Yep. So Alice has asked, she is curious to hear your thoughts about who should be involved in deciding what's important to learn.
Oh, amazing question. Okay, who would like to answer this? Who should be involved in deciding what it's important to learn? Esme.
I think really everyone who's involved, like people who, like parents, definitely, well, they need to help decide, but so long as the child is responsible enough, I do think it's important to decide on your own education. Like, there's no point learning about Henry VIII's wives if what you really love doing and your future career you hope is geography, because that's how's that going to help you? It's important to know things, but spending your life learning things that don't interest you and won't help you in the future isn't going to necessarily make you very happy. It's just going to be like, oh, this stuff is being forced upon me, and there's no point because you'll probably forget it. If it's really boring and you don't value what you're taught, it isn't important to you. You don't absorb it as well. Like, I love history. I absorb history way more than I absorb maths. it's really important for the child to help decide.
Thank you, Rue, and then Niskika. And Leo, I think, do you have to head off, Leo? Is that what you've put in the chat? Leo? Do you need to head off? No, you're good? Okay. Rue.
I want to be the one who decides.
You want to be the one who decides. Yeah, totally. Do you want to? Thank you, Rue. Niskika?
So I think I definitely agree with Esme in that kids need to be involved in the process because you're not teaching yourself, you're teaching kids. So if you're not teaching them the kinds of things that they want to learn, there's no point. Your job as, as adults and as teachers is to equip the next generation with the tools that they'll need to solve the problems that the adults are leaving behind for them. And so I think if there has to be a curriculum, that curriculum needs to morph and change as the problems of the world change. And again, it also needs to be a little bit more personal than it is now, because everyone is going to have some different interests. And so if there is a way, even if it's not in a classroom, if it might be online, if kids can do classes that they specifically like. So if you like history or if you like geography, something like that, instead of having to do instead of everyone having to do the exact same thing, I think that would be hugely beneficial. And yeah, I think kids definitely need to be involved with some part of the process.
Thank you so much. Okay, I think, is that everyone's answer? Anyone else want to add anything to that? Leo, you're good? No, you're good? Okay. Joe, do you want to do one more question and then I think we should wrap? If there is
Yeah.
one.
So I've got a final one. If you could give one message to adults who design schools, what would it be?
Esme?
Just before I leave, my message would be everyone is different and make sure you're nice and accepting towards everyone because not everyone's going to be the same and everyone's going to need different things and try and not to squish kids all to be the same person. Try and let them expand and grow in their own way.
Thank you so much, Esme. Thanks for being on this panel. Niskika?
So if I had to give one message to the adults who design schools and mainstream education, I think it would be it needs to be more accepting, like Esme said, and it needs to be a bit more personal. And I think you have to obviously move with the times. And don't treat kids like an annoyance. Kids are not an annoyance. Kids are the future. So, yeah.
Thank you, Niskika. Thank you for being on this panel. Rue, would you like to say something?
More playtime and tree climbing.
Totally. Thank you, Rue. Thank you for being on this panel. And Leo, did you want to add anything or are you good? You're good. Thank you for being on this panel, Leo. Oh, I'm so croaky. Joe, I reckon that's a wrap from us. And yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to host this panel. And thank you so much to the panelists, Niskika, Rue, Esme and Leo for all your contributions. It's been brilliant. And I absolutely love planning with you on Monday. And I really wish you all the best moving forward with everything you're doing. So thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to all of you for giving up your time today to be here and sharing your insights. And thanks to Sophie for facilitating. It was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm coughing now. Hang on. Okay, so just in the last few minutes, I'd just like to share a little bit about the course that I've created. Now, I'm a bit nervous about the tech here letting me down. So first of all, I need to unspotlight you guys. So let me do that. Thank you again, panel. And Sophie. Oh, I don't know how to remove your spotlight, Sophie.
Ooh. Shall I, Joe? I'll leave, yeah? And then that will surely
I don't feel you have to go.
I mean, it's okay. I should go and feed myself.
You know what I'm about to say next anyway, because you're in the course.
Yeah.
All right, catch up soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, so I am now going to attempt to share my screen. Right, so here we go. So the course I've created is all about alternatives to conventional schooling. It's a downloadable online course which you can work through at your own pace. There are 10 modules and each one includes a pre-recorded video which introduces a different way to approach education. So the topics include home education, flexi schooling, online schooling, forest school, world schooling, Montessori, Reggio Emilia, democratic education, self-directed education, and consent-based education. Some of the sessions are presentations and some are interviews, and they're all with super inspiring education innovators and pioneers. There are 14 contributors altogether. Sophie's one of them, who you just met. She's talking alongside Max Hope about consent-based education. On average, they're all about an hour long, some a bit more, some a bit less, and lots of resources are shared too, as well as full transcripts if you prefer reading to watching. I'm really grateful to all of these sponsors for helping to make the course a reality. Many of them sponsored this event as well, alongside CoLab and Belonging Effect. And to, oh, I've gone the wrong way, hang on. There we go. If you'd like to find out more, you can visit info.progressiveeducation.org/intro-course. And that's a bit of a mouthful. So I'm going to put the link in the chat in a minute. So the course is £48, which includes all 10 modules. And I've got a discount code for you, though, which gives you 15% off. And this is valid until the end of April. So if you put April 15 into the checkout, you'll get 15% off. Now, I've got a little preview video to show you. I'm hoping this is going to work. What I might do is press play and then I'll scroll through. And if people can give me a thumbs up on your video to let me know if you can hear it all right. So it's 9 minutes long and it just gives you a little flavour of what's in store in the course.
When my son started school, there was just something inside of me that felt wrong. And it started that niggle of a question of, oh, is this the right way to educate? And actually started the question really about what is education and what is learning.
So when we think about education and learning, there is this kind of like automatic thought about school, and school is not necessarily learning, school is school. There's so much education that the curriculum of life offers us. Schooling is very different and is not rooted in education or learning. Here in the United States anyway, that over 19 million families want an alternative to traditional, or what I call conventional schooling, but they just don't know where to start. Education as seen in this movement is a sum of everything a person learns that supports them towards living a satisfying and meaningful life.
What is our aim for our children? We want them to grow, to be well-rounded, to be thoughtful, to be capable, to be caring people who actually bring the skills and the gifts that they have to the world around us. We want them to become the best version of themselves. And we need to recognise for some young people that might be in school. But for those where school doesn't work, or those who want to explore imagining a different way to do education, then home education is one pathway, and it's a rich one to discover, and it's an easily individualised one for our young people to go on. And that's one of the many joys of home education.
But there is a significant minority of children at the moment in this country who are struggling to attend school at all. And we think flexi schooling provides an innovative solution for some of those children.
Like many families around the world, I'm sure including many watching this recording, are frustrated with traditional schools and are looking for alternatives. We know that in the US, 2/3 or 75% of learners are reporting negative emotions like hate towards school. The thing that really excites me about online schooling and online education as a whole is how it's accelerating access to quality education. And this is especially powerful in the context of, the work that we're doing and some others in this space, where we're taking models of education that used to be accessible only to some and opening them up to the world.
World schooling is the intentional act of viewing the world as one's classroom. In its simplest form, it's the act of intentionally learning from the world. It combines multi-age and experiential learning with travel and/or cultural experiences to facilitate learning and discovery.
At Forest School, every child has the opportunity for success. There are no tests, no levels, no pressure to perform. Children aren't compared to one another, they're supported as individuals. Forest School is more than outdoor play. It's a journey of self-discovery, connection and growth.
It is not adults' responsibility to kind of dump education into a child's brain or into their experience, but that they are, sovereign whole people who have the responsibility of their own learning and their own growth. And children deserve to be free. They deserve to play. Self-directed education is not just an alternative to schooling. It's actually an active push against coercive, hierarchical relationships between adults and children. Young people decide what, when, with whom, and how to learn, entirely based on their own interests. There is no predefined curriculum, no mandatory classes, and definitely no standardized tests. We believe in community, mutual aid, and taking care of one another.
Democratic education or democratic schools is a worldwide movement of a pedagogical concept that has been around for more than 100 years at some stages, but most of the schools are maybe 2 or 3 decades old, and it's really all over the world. So it's a very diverse spectrum of schools, and this makes it really hard to define. But we agree usually on 2 main principles or pillars. So the first one would be the principle of the right of self-determination to decide as an individual. And the second principle is the participation, the democratic participation in community processes. For example, there's a discussion around having majority vote or consent-based decision-making as a community. But the main idea is that every person, independently from its age, so avoiding age discrimination, has the same right, the same change to influence in the community agreements.
Maria Montessori herself was a radical and a revolutionary. And she believed that our current way of educating children has stunted the evolution of our species, making us individualistic, petty, violent, destructive, and competitive. And her educational method is therefore intended to liberate the human potential that's inherent in all children and put us on a path towards world peace and the evolution of our species, towards building a more peaceful, liberatory, equitable, interconnected, collaborative world.
This is actually an approach which is born from a very emotive place. After the Second World War, some women from the community had a very strong desire to create a new school, a different kind of school. So to do that, we want them to be educated differently, to be different types of humans in the world with different type of agency, a different type of autonomy and control over their own lives, and a say and a voice, a louder, bigger, more prominent voice in the community than they felt they'd had. And so they wanted these schools to be places that really nurtured children and enabled them to develop key skills in critical thinking, collaboration, creativity. And the idea behind that really is that they wanted to develop a place where children could grow up to be thinkers and learners rather than just recipients of knowledge in a sort of a traditional sense, an old-fashioned sense of school.
Like, why are schools so authoritarian? Like, why are they so coercive and controlling? Why is there a lot of parenting culture where it's basically dominating the kids? Like, why is this all as it is? And after a lot of searching for answers about that, I ended up coming to a place of, I don't know, developing a kind of historically informed sense of that. and realizing that one of the key sort of shift points was about consent. And that's talking about the relationship you have with the other, whether that's the environment, your friend, your partner, anything that you are now relating to. And consent means that the things that are happening are okay for both people involved, you know, that people are able to make a freely informed choice about what they do. What we were trying to develop was a system of education that was highly resilient to a changing world. We have to find new and different ways of addressing the problems of the time and supporting each other, living, learning, thriving, relating.
This movement is gaining momentum as the world changes rapidly and we realize that future jobs are unknown. The sustainability of our planet is at risk. And I think, in my opinion, our society is yearning for more connection. Even if it doesn't end up being that you send your kids to any of these 3 programs, you know, that there is a yearning, I think, that we have for something different. I think that folks should be reaching for this information through organizations, through courses like this, and just changing their mind about what schooling is doing. And whether or not it's something we want to participate in anymore, because we can at any point just divest from it and do something different.
So yes, there's a little introduction to the course. I guess I created it really for me 10 years ago. My older son started school back in 2016, and I just knew that it wasn't right for him. But I had no idea that there was a world of alternatives out there. So I know that this course would have helped me back then. And particularly for helping others around me to understand that conventional schooling isn't just the only way. So I hope that it'll be helpful for others too. I'm just going to pop the link into the chat actually before I forget. There we go. And there's the discount code as well, which will give you 15% off. And I'm going to stop recording.